You're listening to the Fairways People podcast, where we share inspiring stories, meaningful conversations, and the voices behind our charity. Each episode offers a closer look at the people and passion that drive us. Hosted by Fairways Managing Director, Gareth Webb.
Hello everyone, so welcome to another Fairways People podcast. So I'm Gareth Webb, the Managing Director of Fairways. You all know me quite well by now. So for our podcast today, we have Laura Rowe, aka Laura Willis, our Director of Operations. Welcome, Laura.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
I can't help myself. I always still see you as a Willis.
I know. It's only been 5 years.
No, only 5 years. Has it been 5 years since you've been married? Wow. Okay. So, Laura, let me give you a little brief introduction. So, you've been with Fairways now for around 12 years, is that right? Yeah. And you've had a fantastic career so far with Fairways, and you've had a variety of different roles. And you actually started as a bank support worker for around a year. I think you might have worked at Porchester Road originally.
Yeah, Porchester and Manor for a bit, yeah.
So that was, a very long time ago. So you joined as a bank support worker, and then you eventually joined us full-time as a deputy head teacher at Swanwick School in around 2014. You then progressed to be and promoted to the head teacher, and then promoted again to be the head of education. And then you become the Deputy Director of Education, and then you was promoted to a Director of Education. Lots of promotions there. And then you've been, more recently, the Operations Director, and your department now consists of Education, Residential, England and Family Services. So there's a really big portfolio. You've got 3 direct reports, 3 heads of service that report into you. And the department's probably got around at least 200 staff. So a big department. Yeah. You're a qualified teacher as well, but you've also completed a number of other courses. I know you really like to invest in your own professional development. You've done lots of different types of accreditations. And one of your most significant was your Masters in Education Management and Leadership. So you've had a remarkable career, and you've achieved so much. And I know personally you're truly passionate about Fairways. So let's start from the beginning, as we do with all our guests, and just learn a little bit more about your childhood and where you grew up.
Yeah, of course. So I was actually born in Southend, so I'm technically an Essex girl.
Oh.
I know, don't hold it against me. But moved down to Fareham when I was like 18 months old, and where we moved down there, my mum still lives in now, so 42 years she's lived in the same house. So I lived there, went to school literally up the end of the road, then went to senior school literally around the corner. So I've always stayed quite a home bird. So I've always stayed local. I had family in Gosport, and that was about as far as my family ever went. So I was really lucky. I had a really stable childhood, mum, dad, sister, and it wasn't really till I kind of got a bit older when my parents split up, and it wasn't until I was 18. So up until then, I'd been really lucky with my childhood and how I grew up. And, our holidays consisted of, a static caravan in Weymouth. It wasn't ever anything exciting, but yeah, I'm really lucky that I've got really nice memories of my childhood, really. Okay,
so originally an Essex girl, grew up in Fareham. So what did you do sort of the general sort of, the academic route? Did you go to college, university? What did you do after school?
So I did. I went to college, did my 3 A levels, but I always knew I wanted. You said about teaching. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. But for those of you that don't know, drama's like a big part of my life, and I didn't want to go to uni, do my teaching degree for 4 years to teach drama, because I knew the national curriculum would have meant I would have got told what to teach, and I didn't really want that. So I didn't know what to do. So I went to uni and did education studies and drama studies, like a combined honours. And what actually got me into teaching is a bit of a weird journey. But part of my teaching, the education studies, we went into Winchester Prison.
Okay.
So we went into Winchester Prison to watch a play. And it really did my head in, because we're watching this play, which was brilliant, but it was people that were murderers, burglars, rapists, and it was like, well, hang on, how are they getting to do this? So for my dissertation at uni, I actually did it on prison education. Okay. So it was called What Are the entitlements of a prisoner. So I went into Winchester Prison, Kingston Prison that was in Portsmouth at the time, interviewed people and just really explored like prison education. Came out of uni, did some other bits and pieces, and then thought, do you know what? I want to teach in prisons, like you do. Wow. So my first ever, I had no teaching qualification. So my first ever teaching role was in front of a class of 10 lifers at Kingston Prison doing drama.
Oh, wow.
And then through prison, I stayed within the prison system, or we worked for a college, but in the prison, and that's how I did my teaching qualification.
Oh, wow.
So it was a bit of around the houses that I ended up in teaching, which I knew I always wanted to do. But yeah,
sorry, I could try to be funny then. But so you did a drama session with in prison with lifers.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Murder scene? What sort of drama did you do?
It was at the time I was lucky because that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was only 24, and in those you could do that then, and then it quickly got realised that they didn't want to spend their money on things like drama, and they wanted to do it on. But yeah, we just did different like role plays and trying to work on their self-esteem and their assertiveness and things like that. So we did bits and pieces around that. But I'd given up in order to do that. I'd given up a full-time job. I worked in recruitment. I was rubbish at sales, but worked in recruitment and gave up a full-time job for one morning a week because I was so passionate by then of what I wanted to do. And then they gave me more hours, and I ended up, by the time I left, I was one of the on the management team by the time I left prison education. But yeah, I taught drama, IT, bit of math. Yeah, I did a bit of everything.
So how long were you at the prison teaching them, would you say?
So I 2005 until I came here, so 9 years, 2000.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, okay.
Because even when I was bank here, I was still in the prisons. I used to do bank at like evenings and weekends. So yeah, 9 years I flitted between Kingston and Winchester.
So you must have met some characters in prison.
Yeah. I've met I have not as many. My husband was an ex-prison officer, and he could tell you a few stories about the real characters. But yeah, you met everyone from really horrific like murderers to, and I always used to try and find out, like for security reasons, find out what their offence was. But then I worked with a guy, and he was a really normal guy, like doing my IT class, and I found out what his offence was, and it was absolutely horrendous. And I thought, well, I've still got to go in tomorrow and teach him. So it kind of taught me you can't judge them. And I think especially at Kingston, they were quite far into their sentence, so they realised that this was it for them, and they either had to get their head down and make themselves better, or what sort of life were they going to have. But you met everything from, the crimes of passion, which is what Kingston used to be known for, to young lads that were in a pub and someone else, all what we talk about with our young people now, really, like young lads that were in a group of people, one of them stabbed someone, they were nothing to do with it, but because they were in that space, in that gang, they all got sentenced for murder. And so I guess it goes full circle with what we're trying to...
I know it's quite controversial sort of subject, like prison and, rehabilitation and that, but did you ever witness? Do you think there is rehabilitation in prison? Do you think people can? I do. Otherwise, 10 years of my life might have been. But no, I do. I think they have to want it. Yeah. I think, and that was always the difference between Kingston and Winchester, because Winchester was a lot more short term. So for a lot of them, prison was a badge, and it was like, look at me, I'm in prison, and they were probably safer in prison and always wanted to be in there. But for, especially some of the ones at Kingston, like they went in at 16, so they were coming out at 30, completely different characters, completely different people. And, I still see some of them about now, and they've sorted their lives out and they're doing much, you can't catch them all. But it gives some of them, especially in Winchester, couldn't read and write. They were adults that couldn't even read and write. So just giving them those skills meant they had something to get out there with. So have you got any was there any scary stories or not, Laura?
Not really.
No, okay.
No, I mean the worst ones was the prison. The education department at Kingston was above the block.
Okay.
So it was literally, the block was on the ground floor, we were on the first floor, and some of the prisoners in the block used to do dirty protests.
Oh, okay.
So we often had to close the whole of education down because the stench of a dirty protest.
Okay. But things flying around.
Yeah, there was lockdowns. I did get pinned up against the wall.
Oh,
once.
there you go.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, I did get pinned up against the wall once by my throat. But
what, one of your lessons?
Yeah, in Winchester. But luckily we used to carry alarms, and within seconds I had.
Okay.
But yeah, that was because I'd asked him to do something, and he didn't want to do it. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. So yeah, that's probably the most scariest.
Okay. Okay, so that's really interesting, fascinating about working in a prison, and I'm sure some of the characters and that you come across, and I guess really how you have to adapt your type of teaching for different characters. But so how did Fairways come about then?
So I guess towards the end of my prison, it had become a little bit like a lot of education in the mainstream. It'd become quite number orientated. So because we were employed by the college, they got a certain amount of funding per prisoner or per student. And I remember sat in a room, because I was a manager by then, justifying why only 11 prisoners had got this IT qualification and not the 12 that we said would. You know, bearing in mind these are prisons that are going in. And I remember thinking, this is not what I come into this for. This isn't. And I knew Mac, the CEO. I knew him through family and stuff, and he kept saying to me, come and work for me. And at the time there weren't really the opportunities, because I was at manager level, there weren't really the opportunities. But I remember thinking, well, actually I've never kind of worked with children in that way. So that's when I started doing the bank in I think it was like June 2013. And started doing bank on like Friday afternoons, and because we finished at lunchtime, so I'd do Friday afternoons, weekends, sleep-ins and waking nights and stuff, just to start getting the experience. And then I think it was about the November I came in and met you.
You did meet me.
Yeah, I came in and had a chat with you at Swanwick, and you know, talking about what you wanted for the school and what the future held, and you know what the future looked like, because there wasn't a deputy in at the time.
No.
And and then I think after Christmas the role came up, that the opportunity, interviewed and started in the February 2014.
The rest is history.
The
prison set you up for working in Fairways.
Yeah, certainly did with some of the characters.
Brilliant. So I know you've had various different roles, and you've sort of been promoted, and you've worked your way up the career ladder, and I know you're really passionate about what you do. So you've been the head teacher, you've been a head of education. In terms of the school, talk to me a little bit about being the head teacher in the school. I know you really enjoyed that role, and you was very good at that role, and you was very passionate about the young people. So talk me a little bit about that role, because that was predominantly, I'd say, a big part of your career, wasn't it?
It was
leading the school.
Yeah, and it was, and I think when I took on the role, I'd wanted it prior to that. I think you'd stepped up, and we had a couple of other heads come in, and each time I was like, I want it, and you know, thankfully I guess I trusted you and trusted where I was at, and waited and was patient. So by the time I became a head teacher, I was ready, and it was I think the opportunity to, whilst I was head, you know, if you think, Gareth, when I came in as deputy, we had 9 young people in that small building at Swanwick, and we've now in September we'll have 82 young people across 4 sites. So I think, you know, being the head, it was about supporting that development, supporting that growth, but also, like, I think I did 2 or 3 Ofsteds whilst I was head, and just taking on board what they're saying and how we needed to grow and develop. And we got, you know, we did it. We became one of, like, you know, elite. I remember we were outstanding slightly before I became head, but we got our outstanding, and I remember being in a conference and them saying behaviour schools can't get outstanding, you know, and I remember sat there, literally put my hand up and went, sorry, excuse me, we can. Because I think it you know, it was about trying to balance that, the education and the learning, but also these young people just need to feel safe. And that's what I loved about being the head teacher, but also, like, now how I've evolved it into where I'm at now, is just that balance between educating them but also recognising sometimes education's the last thing on their list, and but but also supporting the staff. You know, God, we used to have some incidents all the time at Swan. You know, I remember thinking about times when in corridors and in the little like summer house thing we had, you know, but also that supporting the young people, but as head it's your responsibility to support those staff as well. And I think that's what I like, that balance between the students and the young people, but also the staff.
Definitely, yeah. And the school, you know, my background's the same, isn't it, in terms of the school and education, and I think it's such a unique job and a unique role. You know, you have to be mum, you have to be social worker, you have to be teacher, and it's a really complex role. And you're right, you've worked hard, and the team's worked hard, you know, blood, sweat and tears to make sure that we deliver a really good education, a quality curriculum, as well as supporting all their sort of trauma needs and all their sort of emotional needs. Which is brilliant, and the school's come on so much, and that's what's led you to be like, you then become the head of education when we opened up sort of second sites, and then the director of education, and took over that and oversee the whole sort of education department. And then I guess just more recently you've stepped into being the operations director. So you sort of you've during your time as a director, you supported some of our other services, which give you and built up a lot more knowledge and skills. But operational director now, you know, you oversee education, residential and family services. How do you find that? Because that's really different to what you were doing. Really different.
And I guess it's really different in the sense of there's very different regulations and, you know, very different expectations and frameworks to follow. But I guess also similar in we're doing the absolute best for we want the absolute best for the individuals we support. I'm really lucky I've got 3, you know, incredible heads of service that oversee those 3. So, you know, I make sure that I'm supporting them to do what they need to do, whilst making sure I'm present, I'm available. I like to get out and see what's going on, you know, on the shop floor, and meet the staff, and, you know, and see firsthand what's happening. But I think it's primarily about, my role is to think forward, think strategically about where we want those to go, while supporting those heads of services and the managers and the teams to deliver the absolute best for the individuals we support. So yeah, it's very different from education in terms of what they need and what the needs are, but I think primarily it's about offering the very best for the individuals we support, whether it's in a school or a family centre or a residential home, or, you know, for a few hours in a contact session. I think we want to make sure that we're doing the best we can do for those.
Definitely, yeah. And it's a very diverse portfolio you've got. Residential, education and family. So just briefly then, residential, what's that consist of? And
so I'm gonna have to get this right now because we keep growing. But we've got, in England, we've now got 4 residential homes. Okay. So they work with young people from, I think, 6 up to like 17, 18 potentially. 24/7 care. We've got the supported living within residential, so they're like the over 16. We've got 3 up here in the south, and then in the southwest now we've got 2 down there as well. And then in education we've now got, one of my bugbears, but we've actually only got 2 schools. So we've got Fairway School and Glade School, but within Fairway School we've got the Swanwick site and the Fort Wallington site. And then in Glade we've now got the Totton site, and we've just recently opened the Eastleigh site as well. So yeah, like I said, 82 young people going to be across those 4 sites in September. And then in family services, they've got the fostering team, where we support foster carers and the young people within there. We've got the family centres. So again, now we've just expanded this year. We've got 2 family centres who work with parents and children to support assessments and support their parenting skills, and assess whether those parents at that moment in time are able to work to be the parents they want to be. And then we've got our contact service as well, which work quite closely with the family centres, but also have their own families they work with, supporting parents who need that extra support to see their children and be supervised a bit more when they see their children. So even within those 3, there's real diverse services that we operate.
Yeah. So recently we've sort of really defined our strategy, haven't we, for Fairways, and our core services are residential, education and family services, and we're looking to see how we keep, supporting that. And like you said, we've opened up 2 new children's homes in our residential services. We've expanded to the school sites in education, and we're looking to try and get more carers and foster carers. These services are essential for young people in care, and we know, like for example in Hampshire, there's a shortage of residential beds, at least 52 that are needed. We know education, there's a waiting list for special educational needs, and there's a shortage for the next 5 years. And the same with fostering. We know there's a national crisis in terms of fostering. We need over 5,000 foster carers across the UK. So these services are vital, aren't they, in terms of supporting young people out there that really need them. So what, as a director of these services, then what do you, I know you touched it, but what do you do in your role?
What do I do? I guess I regularly meet with my heads of services. I try and catch up with them once a week, whether that's just formally, informally, to find out what's happening, support them with talking through situations, with what they want to be doing or what's going on, thinking about anything like the safeguarding, health and safety, what's significant, what do I need to get involved in. I guess I represent them, like, so when we have our operational board meetings, or whether we have quality safety governance meetings, or any of those kind of committees that we've got, it's my role to ensure that operations are represented, and that they're being taken into consideration for what they do. But also, I guess it's my role to think strategically as well. So sometimes with managers and heads of, you can very much get caught up in firefighting, and so it's my role to be able to step back and, to quote a Gareth Webb phrase, be on that balcony and looking at how we need, do we need that extra school site? Do we need that new residential home? What does that look like? Linking up with local authorities, those figures that you've quoted. I was at an event the other week, and that's they need 52 just residential homes, which is frightening. So I guess it's my role to think about that, how we move strategically, how we fit in with those objectives that the company want, but ensuring that that's in line with what the ability of the services are to do that. So it's all good and well us as a board thinking about how we need to move forward, but I guess I'm that bridge, ensuring that we've got the capability to do that.
Definitely, and I guess also equally as important that I don't think you sort of mentioned, but your role, you're key in also representing and sitting on the operations board, and you're also key in representing and being priority lead for safeguarding and health and safety, your services in the Quality Safety and Governance Committee. So you're involved with some real key forums, but decision making as well around operations. So thank you, Laura. That's really helpful. Great to get a bit more understanding about your role. A question I like to ask is, what's your why? What gets you out of bed in the morning and make you come into Fairways every day?
I think I've touched on it briefly earlier, but I watched a TED talk once, and I can't think what the title of it was, but she talked about every child needs a champion. I think a lot of people know. And I guess my why is to be that champion. So whether it's for, the young people that we work with, the individuals we work with, the families we work with, to advocate for them, or whether it's for staff. I like to think of I'm quite supportive in what I do, and I want to ensure that the staff I work with have the opportunities as well to, you reeled it all off earlier, but I've been really fortunate, within Fairways and the opportunities I've been given, and I want to, champion that for the staff I work with. So I guess, that's my why, making sure that we're doing the absolute best we can for the individuals we support, but the staff that we've got within our services, really.
Cool, brilliant. No, really good, very good. And I witnessed that. I see that you're a big advocate and passionate about what you do for young people and individuals. So we got our 5-year strategy, and we got our 5-year breakthrough objectives that we talk about, and areas that we want to improve and develop over the next 5 years to make the charity the best it can be. So talk to me a little bit about your involvement in some of them. What's your sort of key objectives that you want to support with
Yeah, so I guess for 24-25 I've kind of been dipping in and out of some of the strategies rather than like leading on them, but involved in the model of care and ensuring that what we offer is across the board, and how we support young people, whether someone works in central support or works on the front line, they're thinking the same way and operating the same way. So I've been dipping out of some of them, but I think moving forward I'm going to be overseeing a lot of our work about our care leavers. So there's a real issue at the moment, I guess, and a concern because of funding, which obviously is difficult for everyone across local authorities and everywhere, is what happens to our care leavers when they hit 18 or before. How do we support those care leavers? Is it about getting them a job? Is it about finding accommodate? Like, what do we do for our care leavers when they leave Fairways, making sure that, as Matt likes to say, they don't fall off a cliff? So I'm going to be a lot of my focus next year, for this year coming, 25-26, has been looking at how Fairways can support those care leavers. I think also about our outcomes for young people. So I think we're trying to pilot a new system for our outcomes, but how can we use that to ensure, we transition, for example, one of the real plus for Fairways is we've got the ability to move young people. So how are we using those outcomes to ensure that those transitions are right and everyone's got the right information? Obviously the trauma informed, I've actually just been asked to write a submission for that, which is a bit scary, the thought of having to write an essay again after all this time. But so just, I guess, dipping in of all the breakthroughs, making sure that the quality of what we deliver in our services is the absolute best. Not just for the young people, but when a regulator walks in, they're seeing the absolute best that we've got to offer.
Definitely, no, absolutely, and I know we're all aligned on that. We know we want to continue to work on outcomes for young people. A big area we're passionate about is care experience and care leavers, and actually making sure that they thrive when they leave us, in the big wide world, and they've got the support and the support network to ensure that they do sort of achieve and do well in life. So absolutely, some real great sort of objectives there and what we want to work on. So in Fairways, we talk a lot about our values, our part values: professional, accepting, transparent, and accepting, and reflective, and stuff like that. So what's your core values? I keep saying this. If you was to stick a rock, like you used to get the seaside, and I was to cut you in half, what would be the values that run through you?
Have you seen the size of them recently?
Yeah.
They are small now.
No, yeah.
I guess one of my big ones is reflection. I think people that have been on my journey with Fairways would say or have said I'm not the Laura that I once was, for the better. And I think that's because I reflect a lot. I really reflect on where I'm at, where I've been, who I was, and I'm very grateful that I'm not the Laura that I used to be. And I've had to learn the hard way about that. But I think reflection and reflecting on what we do, how we move forward with that, what's gone right, what's gone wrong. I say this a lot, but like my print is I'm a 6-1, so to be safe and secure and perfect, correct and right. And I think you need to, all of Fairways values I need to ensure that I've got in place to keep that myself in best self.
Best self, yeah. I like that. And I 100%. I think you're probably one of the best person I know that will reflect on stuff and learn from stuff and actually take it on board. And I think that's probably why you have, like you've alluded to, you've really grown over the years and flourished in your roles at Fairways. So thank you for sharing that. So last question. So on my podcast, I like to finish off with this question. So here I go. So there's lots of complexities and the chaos of everyday life that we know it all impacts on our mental health and well-being. So my question to you is, what do you do to support your own well-being, and what do you recommend?
Okay, so I'm not a gym goer.
Okay.
I'm not one of those people that get my running shoes off and go for a run.
You swim down then though, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. I used to be a member of the gym, but I didn't go. I like watching sport. That's like I'm an armchair participant. Yeah, so I love watching sport. on TV, going to live sports events.
I've actually never known anyone to go to so many events. I love your social diary. You're like concerts here, events here, snooker there.
Yeah. No, I do like. I like making memories. I guess that's one of my big well-being. But I also love just sitting in front of the telly watching a good drama, a good crime documentary. Funnily enough, but also I've just bought a camper van. This year.
Okay.
So actually, I love that. Even if it's just going, we've only had it since March, but even if it's just going away for the night in the New Forest, it's like you're away. So you just completely switch off. So, and a glass of wine of an evening now and again. So yeah, that's.
And this camper van. Where's your where's the destination you really want to go to?
I think probably Scotland. Like we want to do. Is it the 500 route or something? It's called. I'm actually going to France in September for a week, so that'll be interesting. Nice. But also there's a thing called the Romantic Trail as well like where I can't think of the film, like The Sound of Music and there's like you can go along and see all those sort of but yeah, let's see if France works first.
All right. Well, good luck in France then. And also actually you touched on it when we first started to talk, and you used to do a lot of amateur dramatics. Do you still do that?
No, I don't. I did from the age of 18 actually. I used to do Amdram for a local, in Cosham actually, a local group called Highbury Players. No, I stopped during COVID. We obviously had to stop during COVID, but also, funnily enough, I used to get so worked up. It was supposed to be a thing for like fun and well-being and relaxation, but my anxiety.
What stress?
I used to have to take like what are those pastels you get in a tin that you used to have to suck to like down. And I thought this
it's not good for my well-being.
This isn't good for my well-being. But I used to, and I do miss it, but I don't miss the stress of learning lines, and I ain't got time. You just reeled off what my portfolio is. I ain't got time to learn lines.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks, Laura. Appreciate your time today. It's been really insightful. Great to listen about your journey in Fairways and for you for sharing sort of your objectives of what you want to achieve in Fairways and what you do for your own well-being. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.